Curry Fitness says, what are your protocols for peak week, such as gear, diet, and training? Okay, we'll start with training. Training wise, I usually train Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And I usually go legs on Sunday because I want my legs to recover by the show, because I don't want like a film of water over them. So I don't want to train like legs on Thursday and then step on stage on Saturday, because most likely there's still going to be trauma to the muscle, and there's going to be a film of water there. Now, even my leg workout on that Sunday is not going to be balls to the wall, squatting, all this shit. It's going to probably be more machines, leg press, hack squat, which is still hard, but it's not going to be insane weight. Probably more 10 to 15s with just like a moderate weight. So because I want to put blood in the muscle, I want to put glycogen in the muscle, but I want to deplete the muscle because I'm going to be carb loading later in the week. I want to drive blood to the muscle to keep it full, but I don't want to traumatize it so much that by Saturday it's still sore and covered with a film of water. You understand? So legs Sunday, probably train chest and shoulders Monday. I probably train back on Tuesday, and then I would probably do arms on Wednesday. And then when I get to the place, usually if I'm flying or whatever to the venue, the Thursday I might do, I'm carb loading now because I probably start my carb load Wednesday and Thursday, Friday. So I've carb loaded Wednesday. When I get to the venue or get to the place I'm going to, whatever, I'll probably do like a full body, upper body circuit 2 or 3 times, just a 20-minute workout just to drive more carbs to the muscles of my upper body. I won't train legs again though. I'm not doing cardio. If anything, I might go for a really light walk on a treadmill just to kind of get the water circulating in my body, just so I'm not like you get that film of water under your skin. I might do that on Friday as well. I might do just a 20-minute walk on a treadmill, like 3 miles per hour, 2.5 miles per hour, just to kind of get the water moving around your body. That's about it for training. Now, food, I probably would have started depleting the week previous, depending on my diet. But you're probably going to deplete, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, right? 6 days, 5 days, 3 days, depending on how depleted you already are. You're probably going to start carb loading Wednesday. Unless you're super, super depleted, you might start on Tuesday. But if everything goes right, you probably start Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You start loading those 3 days. Probably the heaviest day would be, this is just my system. Wednesday would be the heaviest day. Thursday would be a heavy day. Friday would be a little bit lower in carbs if your body took all the carbs properly. If not, Friday's probably going to be a heavy day as well. Diuretic, I don't use a diuretic with John. When I work with John Meadows, the last 3 shows we did, we used diuretics. We used a Senna product, which helps you go to the bathroom a lot. We used it the day before, and it helps you kind of get rid of water along with all the waste in your body. And you wake up in the morning Saturday with an empty stomach, and you wake up a little drier. Now, if you take too much of it, you can wake up fucking flat, which also happened to me. So you have to be careful with that. But we did not use any diuretics, which I would rather use like a laxative type product than a diuretic. It's just safer. Doesn't draw as much water out of the muscle, and it empties my stomach all at the same time, so I can pose better and have a smaller waist on stage. As far as drugs go, you're probably going to be stopped all your gear like by that week. So if everything goes perfectly, you may drop the GH 2 weeks out, maybe a week max, but 2 weeks out probably. You're probably going to drop all your injectables the week before. And you may only keep running your orals, like say if you're running like an Anavar, Winstrol, or Halo or something like that, you're probably going to run it till like Tuesday. You probably drop the T3 that night as well, the Clan that night as well. The only thing you're probably going to keep to the show is maybe your anti-estrogens if you're running some Arimidex or some Proviron. You probably keep that in the last Thursday, Friday. That's really about it. That's kind of how it goes. So I know some people start adding anadrol to try and fill out, and some people think they should increase their drugs as you go. Listen, the more drugs you have in your body, the more water you're going to retain. If you ever see a natural guy that's absolutely fucking peeled, their skin looks like onion skin. It's just, there's nothing there. There's no water there. There's nothing causing that water retention. So even when we discuss drugs that are not water retentive drugs, you're still going to retain water. So we try and pull a lot of the drugs out as we get to the show because you don't need them. You want your body to relax, expel the water, and just leave that muscle and skin and be very comfortable as you walk on stage. Philip Ferreira 7 says, never tore something before. Are there any warning signs you feel before you're about to tear something? In your experience, could there be a difference in the burning pain you feel when you're pumping that muscle versus the feeling when you're close to tearing? This is really shitty as an answer, but there is not a way to tell because I'll give you 2 examples, okay? I tore my tricep recently. I had severe tendonitis, okay? But I've had tendonitis for 10 years. So you can't say that tendonitis means you're going to get a tear because I had tendonitis for a long time before it finally tore. So that's not for sure a thing, but the pain was worse than years past. Like I was really band-aiding it a lot. Like I was putting a lot of creams on it to keep it warm and a lot of like elbow sleeves and things like that. I was doing a lot of icing post-workout just to get through to the next workouts. And if you're asking why I didn't stop, it's because I was getting ready for a show and I couldn't stop. Now, when I tore my hamstring or my lat, I tore my teres. I tore my hamstring, a 12 centimeter gash in my hamstring. There was nothing. No pain whatsoever, nothing. And my hamstrings had been strong as fuck for weeks on end. Week after week after week, I was going in and I was like leg curling the stack. Like I'd never been so strong on hamstrings. This happened for a few months. And then finally, it just went and it was pop. Never fucking even felt a thing until it popped. The only thing I point to that day was my therapist had done some extreme stretching in my hamstrings the day before. I don't know if that meant anything. I don't know if it had anything to do with it, but that's the only thing I can point to, which I don't think is why it happened. But if I had to say something was different, that was the only thing that was different. But there was no pain. And my strength was through the roof. It wasn't even like, I would have never known. So I don't know. I personally feel like if you're going to go balls to the wall, if you're going to go crazy, if you're going to train your fucking ass off, things are going to happen, But I'm not saying you have to train that way to be great. If you look at Dexter doesn't train the way Ronnie trained. It's not to say he doesn't train hard. He still has intensity, but he doesn't train the way Ronnie trained. Ronnie trained like an animal with free weights and heavy weights and twice a day and all that shit. And his body got beat up. And same with Dorian Yates, trained the same way with that heavy, high intensity style. Body got beat up. So there's that debate, do you train smarter and have longevity, but maybe never know your true potential, even though Dexter's gotten there? But Dexter's intensity, I feel like, is through the roof. Or do you train balls out and take your body as far as it can go until it breaks? If you knew it was going to break, you wouldn't do it, but you don't feel like it's going to break when you're doing it. That's the problem. When do you drop the test C or E in GH pre-contest? We just kind of went over that. So, like I said, you're going to drop your test probably a week. Some people do a week and a half out. Your GH, some people run it, if they're really, really shredded, they'll run it all the way to the show because it keeps the muscle nice and round. But some people feel like if they cut it out a couple weeks out, their body will relax. They'll flush out some more water and they'll get that really, really crisp look. it depends on your body and how your muscle looks without the GH. Some people can still have that really round, full look without the GH, and some people just get really flat as soon as you take it out. You got to kind of feel what kind of person you are before you know. But I usually pull mine a couple weeks out, and I let the carbs do the filling. Scottus Maximus, any tips for building your appetite up? I'm someone who struggles to eat enough to keep up with my metabolism. And the struggle isn't so much figuring out the solution, but maintaining the appetite it requires to take in that many calories in a day. I'm not sure what you're saying. Are you saying you can't eat enough to grow, or you don't have any appetite? You can't keep your appetite high. It sounds like you're saying you can't keep your appetite high. So what I'm going to say is clean up your diet, take out any junk out of your diet, and start from scratch. Start from the cleanest diet you can come up with. Egg whites, rice, chicken, fish, potatoes. Start with that. Increase the calories with those foods. I guarantee you'll be hungry. Then when you get really hungry and you're eating a mass amount of those foods, then start adding the more calorie dense stuff, the red meats, the avocados, the Ezekiel breads, the oatmeals, start adding more of that shit and see where your body stops. And where it stops, oh shit, I'll take that food back out. You got to start from a base somewhere and put food in from that spot until you know what your body can handle. Mayan Gyan 1989 says, what is one trait you would like to improve? And what is one trait you have that you're proud of? One trait I have that I'm proud of is the fact that I will not quit when I love something. So if I'm interested in something, if I want to do something, if I have a passion for it, nothing can pull me away from it. I want to make sure it works. Problem is I don't have a passion for a lot of things. So if I don't have a passion for something, I'll dump it after, like, if I suck at it, I'm like, okay, fuck it, I don't want to do it anymore. But if I have a passion for it, I will keep working at it until I get it, right? So that's one thing I'm proud of. The things I'm not proud of, there's a lot. Where do I start? If I had to pick one trait to improve, it would try and be nicer. Just try and be a nicer person. I can be an asshole. I can be short. I can be selfish. Yeah, I'd like to just learn how to be better with people overall. That's one trait I want to improve. Captain Jason Hook says, do you think Chris Bumstead can overthrow Breon this year? Tough call. I don't know. When I look at Chris Bumstead, I see the embodiment of what a classic physique is. Okay? That to me is a classic physique. He's not overly muscular. I mean, he's muscular, but you know what I mean? I'm talking open bodybuilding. He looks athletic, like it's almost statuesque in a way, right? Like that's to me a classic physique. But then when I look at Breon and I look at the requirements of what classic physique is, he has Chris Bumstead's weak points. You know, Chris is weak in the arms and Chris is a little weak in the back. Breon has a great back and he has great arms. So when you put them beside each other, it's hard. When you see Chris by himself, you're like, that's classic all fucking day, right? No problem. That's the guy. But then when you put them next to each other, you're like, oh, Breon has great arms and that frontal bicep looks nuts, right? And then you do the back, you know, those classic back poses and, you know, see all the detail in Breon's back and the size. And you're like, and then you see him next to Chris and you're like, wait a minute, Chris is lagging something somewhere, right? So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I think if I had to pick, I would have to see them next to each other for sure again this year. I think if I had to pick what classic physique was, it wouldn't be something you could see on paper. It would be something that you just see. If you're seeing it on paper, Breon wins. If you're going by feeling, which I don't even know what that means. I'm just saying like that feeling, like that guy looks like a classic guy. I pick Chris. So if somebody can quantify that for me, that's great. But I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say. But There is a look you can feel and you can see that's classic when you look at certain physiques. But then you can see on paper when you say, okay, this guy's this tall and this weight, and these are the body parts he has, where you say, okay, Breon has everything. So that's the problem, is one is a feeling you're getting and one is on paper. It's clearly what it's defined as. So in that sense, Breon's Mr. Olympia. Maybar 88 says, why is the bodybuilding community dismissive or appear uninterested in the results of the scientific community? Given that the scientific world over the last few years has been providing some great insight into what causes hypertrophy, that mechanisms impact on volume, and the effective doses of volume for hypertrophy. It seems odd that many in the bodybuilding world are either dismissing those studies with prejudice or dismissing them despite the fact their own training confirms the results when critically examined. How can I put this? I don't agree. I think, okay, I don't think this is going to sound really meatheadish. I don't think science has all the answers. I think some of it is theory. Some of it is conclusive evidence. But I do think bodybuilding does take a lot from science. I think when we look at diets, I think the way the diets we have now have improved over the last, look at the diets they were eating in the 80s. And then now look at our diets. We have a better understanding of how much protein we need. We've kind of solidified that like 1.5 grams per pound. We have a better understanding of the carbs we need, the fats we need. I think there's a lot of things we take from science. I think there's a better understanding of maybe we don't have to go to failure on every set to gain muscle. Some people don't train as heavy as they used to, but I also think there is theory and then there is practice. And I think when you have a significant amount of guys, like, okay, if a scientist says you don't have to train to failure and you don't have to train heavy to gain muscle, okay, why are the best Mr. Olympias the guys that train the heaviest and the guys that train to failure? Leave out the Mr. Olympias. Why are the best bodybuilders the guys that train the heaviest and the guys that train to failure? I mean, look, you can run down the list. Rich Gaspari, known for training to failure, second at the Olympia, how many years? Lee Haney. Okay, Lee Haney was known for, stimulate, don't annihilate. True. But he's also known for training to failure. So his stimulate is not the average guy's stimulate. You have Dorian Yates, you have Kevin Levrone, used to bench 5 plates routinely. You have, pick the person, pick the bodybuilder, pick the greatest bodybuilders on earth over the last 30 years and explain to me why the science doesn't match the profession. Are you saying those bodybuilders could have been better if they didn't train that way? Because I don't believe that. I feel like they got the most out of their bodies doing it that way, even though science says that's not the way. So I'm not sure exactly what scientific studies you're talking about, but the ones I've seen recently have said that you don't have to train to failure to put on a ton of muscle, which I don't think you have to train to failure to gain muscle, but what's saying that training to failure won't gain more muscle? I haven't seen that study. I've seen studies that say you don't have to train heavy to gain muscle, which I also believe, but is there a study that says training heavy won't gain more muscle than training light? There are some, and I've seen the results that say it's only a little bit more muscle. But when you're talking about the best guys in the world, if bodybuilder A is doing the scientific approach, which is don't train to failure and don't train heavy, and you can still gain muscle. Because if you do it the other way, you're only going to be a little bit better. That 1% or 2% may be the difference between 5th at the Olympia and 1st at the Olympia. So I'm not sure exactly what science we're not listening to. Maybe you could be a little bit more specific to me. I do think we take a lot of our cues from science, but bodybuilders are also guinea pigs in a way. We experiment in our own ways, and we have our own notes. We're our own science. But what is science? Science is, I have a theory, I'm going to put it in practice, and I'm going to do an experiment and see how long it works and see if it works. We do that every day. We do that every day. Today, I'm going to eat chicken. This week, I'm going to eat chicken. I'm going to eat chicken and fish and egg whites and see how my body looks. Next week, I'm going to eat fucking steak and peanut butter and eggs, and I'm going to see how my body looks. Those are experiments. That's science. I'm doing my own experiment. So we take our cues from the scientific community, but we also have our own input, because I don't think the scientific community is doing studies on Ronnie Coleman or Dorian Yates or Flex Wheeler or Luke Sandow or anybody of that caliber. I think they're doing their studies on, the guy at the gym that kind of trains hard. That's not what we're doing. We have our own input. So I'm not sure why I'll pose the question back to you. I'm not sure why the scientific community doesn't respect the bodybuilding community, because we've been doing experiments for 50 years. And that's why we have progressed to the place we are. The scientific community has coined the term bro science as a joke, like laughing at the bodybuilding community. Why are you guys, look at that, it's bro, look at that guy. He trains 5 days a week and he does one body part a day. What stupid fucking bro science is that? Oh, that guy eats 6 meals a day. That's bro science. Why? Why is that bro science? Because the scientific community says that eating your caloric intake for the day in one meal is the same as eating it in 6 meals. I beg to differ. Try it. Try it my way and go to the gym, and then try it your way and go to the gym and see who has better performance. So you can use the term bro science to diminish the effort that us as bodybuilders have put in to try and learn our bodies and progress our physiques to a certain level. But we're doing our own science experiments on ourselves. And we respect scientists, but scientists don't respect us. But I don't believe that any scientists are doing studies on guys like us. So how can your study apply to me fully? I mean, partially it's going to apply, of course. But how can I not have my own input if you're not actually doing a study on a person of my caliber or somebody better than me? So I have my own questions back to you, I guess. Bad Arbuna says, do you think that due to bad or no education on enhancement drugs, people are getting this bad idea about bodybuilding? And not only for the industry, but for the general public? Yes, I do. That's why I started my podcast. So the reason I started the Real Bodybuilding podcast, and I've said this before to those who listen, is there are a lot of people on the fringes of bodybuilding that have taken up the voice of bodybuilding because bodybuilders themselves aren't doing it. I'm not going to name any names because I keep naming them and I don't want to give them any more press, but there are people that are not bodybuilders. Okay. They're not professional bodybuilders. Okay. They're bodybuilders. They go to the gym and they lift weights and they build muscle. That's a bodybuilder. They're not competitive professional bodybuilders. So they're not the elite of the bodybuilding group. And there are others who also are not the elite of the bodybuilding group that espouse to know what the elite are doing. They're giving all the information. I know what this professional does. I know what this professional does. I know everything. Yes, all of that is giving the industry a bad name because a lot of it's bullshit. So I decided to put up the podcast so I can get the guys on and you can hear it from their mouth, what they're doing and why they're doing it and how they're doing it, and hopefully take back our voice and give us back our credibility instead of letting these fucking people who have no idea put out these crazy numbers that are hurting people and just hurting the industry and hurting the way people see us in general. That's why. Bri Good says, do you need a coach in the off season? Depends. I'll put it this way. If you know how to put together your daily calories, if you know how to put together what you need for the day to exist, your basal metabolic rate, and you know how to add the workload onto it, and you know how to add a surplus, as long as you know, look, if you have a basic understanding of how many calories you need and what foods to eat, then I don't know if you need a coach in the off season, as long as you have your own focus. Okay. If you binge all the time and you can't stay on a fucking diet and you have no idea what to eat and you have no idea what to do, then yeah, you need a coach. Okay. You need a coach. You need a coach to keep you on track and keep you growing and keep you eating and keep you focused. Because I'll be honest with you, the majority of the problem is not people having trouble dieting. A lot of people get really hyped up when it's time to do a contest prep. The reason people don't make any progress is because their off seasons are shit, because nobody can focus when the spotlight's not on them. Oh, it's just the off season. My show isn't for 10 months. Yeah, well, if you don't do anything for the next 7 months ahead, in 10 months, you're going to look like shit, or you're going to look the same as the last show, and no one's going to care. So yeah, if you're one of those people that can't stay focused, get an off-season coach. Mr. Red Lion says, could you go over your weaknesses, faults as a bodybuilder over the years, be it diet-related, training, supplement, psychological? Holy shit, that's a lot of problems. My waist is thick. My arms are too small. My calves are too small. My hamstrings are good from the back, but not from the side. My back could be thicker. I wish I had no anxiety. What else? What else do you want? What other faults I wish I wasn't an asshole to everybody. What other faults do you want? Listen, we all have faults, okay? If you want me to pick apart my physique and pick apart my personality, it's not hard to do, right? Everybody can do it. But that's what we're doing. That's what bodybuilding is. That's why I came up with the term, we're not just building bodies, we're building character. Because as you build your physique and as you learn to change the bad things about your physique, it's funny, something happens to your brain in the process and you mature a lot faster than you would normally, I think, as long as you commit yourself 100% to your problems, to changing your body. So yeah, I mean, there's a million problems we could go over, right? But this is like one of the things. Now, the second part of the question says, if you could go back and change or alter things that you feel would have made you a more successful bodybuilder up to now, what would you do? So all those problems I listed, I've been trying since I started to fix them. Some things are genetic. My arms are never going to look like Rolly Winkler's arms. My calves are never going to look like Ben Pekulski's calves. It's just, you have to be thankful with what you have, and you have to make it the best it can be so it outweighs your negatives. Just like if you have a negative psychologically, like if you're a selfish person, you have to make a conscious effort to give back to people so that you can counter that shitty aspect of yourself. I don't choose to focus on all the negative things about myself. I choose to focus on how I can make them better, and how I can just be a better person, and how I can be the best bodybuilder I can be with what I have. I don't think sometimes things are not changeable. So you have to work with what you got. Josh Mo 329 says, Fouad Abiad, I would like to ask, why is it that some people bench when some people bench, they arch their back like they're a freaking rainbow and only getting a quarter reps in? Am I the only one? Like, what the fuck? That comes from powerlifting. So I believe that a proper bench to build muscle leaves your back flat. Obviously, there's going to be a small arch in your back, here and there, but that crazy arch that you see, that's a powerlifting thing. It's to get your chest really high up, shortens the rep, makes it so you can bench more, right? You're not going as deep. But we're not powerlifting. We're trying to build muscle. So keep your back flat. Small arch is normal. That's why it drives me nuts as well when I see people in there. They kick their heels all the way back and they got their toes dug in and they arch their back as much as they can and they do like a quarter rep or a half rep with 4 plates. If you're not powerlifting, if you're trying to build muscle, that's a joke, right? So, yeah, I agree with you. The arching thing is a powerlifting thing only. Be Real Swan says, ever had a bad chest strain? I found a good way to not restrain it. It seems to keep happening to me. Be Real Swan, this is what I would do in steps. Go get an ultrasound, figure out what the problem is, if it's torn or not torn or whatever, because that's most likely what it is. It's not a strain. It's probably a small tear. Then take the steps to recover, see a physiotherapist, see a massage therapist, take the time off that you need to take off. When your physiotherapist says you can go back and train, just to be sure, I would go back and get another ultrasound and see if it's healed. If they say it's healed, then go back to training lightly and start slowly back to where you were before. Then you should be okay. If it keeps happening from there, it might be a mechanical issue or something from there, like something you're doing wrong in your press that you might have to have a trainer or a physiotherapist come take a look at it. But my personal belief is you probably have an injury that you're not letting heal properly. DMAC runs 709, says cardio before or after training. After training. Don't do cardio before training. Use the glycogen you have in the muscle to work out with weights. After you're done working out with weights, you burned off all that glycogen, then go do cardio. The theory is that you will burn more fat when the glycogen is already burned off from the weight training anyway. So do your cardio post-weight training. Luke Strong 18 says, what were some of the things you learned about bodybuilding as you were coming up that you wish you would have known before you started? Nothing really. I kind of knew what to expect. I knew that if I wanted money, I was going to have to do well. I knew that if sponsors were going to pick me up, I was going to have something to offer. I think I've always been a realist. I've never kind of seen anything for not being what it really is. There's nothing about the bodybuilding world that was surprising to me. Sorry. Pogo Lahandrej says, what is your opinion on giant sets, style of training that Milos Sarchev somewhat invented? Did you by any means ever try it? If so, do you like it? I like it for shock purposes. It's not a way I would train on a regular basis. I feel like it's more cardio than hypertrophy. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but it's not my style. I've done it, but like I said, just for a shock workout, for a way to increase a pump like once in a while, but it's definitely not a way I would train on a regular basis. Muscle Freak 47 says, how do pros stay that lean in the offseason eating over 6,000 to 8,000 calories? I doubt very highly that a lot of pros eat 6,000 to 8,000 calories. There might be the odd pro here and there, and that their genetics might call for it. You know what I mean? I don't think very many people eat 6,000 to 8,000 calories. But you have to keep in mind also, if they are, it's probably their output. I mean, if you're doing training in the morning or cardio in the morning, training in the afternoon, like my calorie expenditure for the day, if I'm doing a lot of output, like if I'm doing like cardio in the morning, training at night, or maybe even 2 cardios or 2 training sessions, is like 5,000 calories a day. That's by the numbers, like figured out 48, it was like 4,900. So if you want a surplus to put on a little bit of weight, it's going to be 5,500, 6,000. That's why I'm 30 pounds overweight, right? So when you're carrying that much muscle, you need 5,000 calories. Just if you got a lot of output, you're going to need 5,000 calories just to maintain your body. So if you're trying to put on size, you're going to want to put that surplus in. So it depends. What you're seeing is it's a massive bodybuilder, right? Guys who weigh, lean body mass of 250 pounds, that's a big person. So that muscle needs to be fed. So then to grow, you need a surplus. I don't know very many people doing 8,000 calories. I mean, Justin Compton was, but he's training twice a day and he's a freak. So that's not a common thing. Hey Fouad, DeFranco Tony says, hey Fouad, what's your thoughts on running HCG while running a cycle to make the recovery smoother? Fact or myth? I personally believe it's a myth. If I'm on, my natural testosterone is probably shut off, and it's going to stay shut off as long as I'm injecting synthetic testosterone. So I don't see a point in taking HCG until I've come off and I'm ready to recover my natural testosterone production. Sanderson Fit says, could you speak on acclamation sets and how you personally utilize them? So an acclamation set is also a feeder set, is also a warm-up set. That's very simple. Before every exercise, there's acclamation sets, or like I said, feeder sets. I don't do an exercise. I don't ever walk up to an exercise and go right to my heaviest. Like, let's say I'm doing bench press and I'm healthy, right? My heaviest set's probably going to be 405 for 6 to 8 reps. There'll never, ever be a time, even when I started and I was young and I was really healthy, there was never, ever a time I walk up to the bench and just put 405 on the bar or 315 on the bar. So acclamation sets are always there to get me used to it. So I always have 2 or 3 at least before getting to my heaviest set. It's just a way to stay safe. And that's it. You're never, ever going to go. It's never, ever smart, in my opinion, to go right to your heaviest set, even at 10 reps from 0. You're just kind of asking for trouble. Plus, not to mention, there is a pre-exhaust notion to it as well, right? If I'm benching and get in, I get 3 sets in, I got everything warmed up, I got the muscles working a little bit, I got everything activated. That last set is going to be better. There's already blood there. The muscle's already activated. It's ready to give me everything it's got. You're not going to go to an exercise like that cold, right? Chris Tyler 93 says, is muscle density something that improves over time, or are there ways to make your muscles appear more dense? I think density is partially genetic, but a lot of it has to do with your training style, and it is over time. I've never seen anybody at 20 years old look dense, right? It's usually somebody who's got 5 years, 10 years, 15 years of training under their belt. So muscle density, like you see in somebody like a Dorian Yates or like, pick your bodybuilder that you think is dense. That's not something that happens. I've never really seen it in somebody in the first 2-3 years of their training. Like if you look at Ian Valier is Valier, I don't know how you say it, is very, very dense as a bodybuilder, but he's into his 10th year of training. He's 27 now, I think, or 30. I think he's 30. I don't know. But he's into like his 10th year of training to have that type of density and gnarly looking muscle. It's not something that he had when he turned pro. He was conditioned, he was shredded, but this newfound like real thickness and real density has come over time and just pounding out that iron, right? So it takes time. Big Dog Fit says, you always comment on how sometimes you meet someone who makes you realize you can work even harder. Can you tell us when this happened to you and who it was? Yeah, I really believe that everybody thinks they work hard. Everybody, when they start, because they train with their buddy or whatever, who they train by themselves, they think, I'm crushing it. I'm crushing it. I've seen guys at the gym barely fucking train and then go home and write on their Instagram, I killed it today. In their head, they probably did. I know if I worked out with that person, I could get 50% more out of them. So, like I said, everybody, when they're alone or when they're with their buddy who maybe doesn't know either, thinks they're killing it. They're crushing it. I'm working so hard. I'm sore in the morning. That must mean I'm working hard. I'm uncomfortable when I eat. I must be eating as much as I can eat. Until you bump into somebody who does know how to eat or does know how to train. then you're like, oh, I can go deeper on a squat, and that hurts my legs more. Holy fuck, I'm way more sore the next day. Or, oh, I can squat after 1 minute. I don't need a 5-minute break. Wow, I'm really taxed. I can't breathe. This is fucking really hard. I think I'm going to puke. That's a thought people have had when they've trained with me. That's a thought I've had. And that's what you asked. So when I first went to work with John Meadows, he got more out of me. Now, he didn't get more out of me in training intensity as far as like speed of the workout or going to failure. He didn't get more out of me in terms of weight lifted, because John was stronger than me when he was younger. But I think at the time we had trained together, we were about the same strength. Where he got me was training techniques. He started adding some rest pause into my program. He started adding some static holds into my program. Started adding more drop sets, just really things that I didn't think of and didn't think of how to utilize them the way he taught me to. So there's always somebody who can get more from you. Just recently, worked out with Jordan Shallows, was doing lying leg curls. I thought I was killing it. He goes, hey, do it this way. Showed me a new way to do it. My hamstrings are fried. It's not always, oh, that guy made me throw up. Working harder is sometimes working smarter too. So there's always going to be somebody. There's always going to be somebody who knows more. There's always going to be somebody who can push you to your limit or past it. So I think the best thing you can do if you really want to be the best you can be is find those people. If you have to pay those people. If you have a local bodybuilder that's a pro that's offering to go train with them for a couple $100, pay the money and go get your ass kicked, because you're going to leave there and you're going to remember that for the next year before your show. You're going to go, oh, I'm not working hard enough. I remember what it felt like. I remember what he got out of me. I can never go back from that now, because I know I'm not giving it everything I got. That's what it does. It's not like going to train with John once was not the solution to all my problems because that one day he kicked my ass. No, going to train with John once was a solution because after I left there, I knew I had another gear that I didn't know I had before I got there. So now when I go home to work out, I can never go back from that, because then in my mind, I'm like, you're slacking. You're slacking. Go back to where John took you, or else you're slacking. So it teaches you that you have more in you so that you can never be a lazy fuck again. That's the benefit to training with people that are better than you. Find those people and get better yourself. Mike McMillan 1 says, when calories get low deep into a prep, do you utilize more green veggies towards your carb intake for added volume with your meals to fill your stomach? No. I add more water. I don't add more food. I mean, yeah, maybe you want to say like I go from like a cup of greens to a cup and a half. Sure. I'm not going to lie. But that's not, I don't go from like a cup of broccoli to like 4 cups because I'm hungry. No, you just fucking suffer with the hunger. That's part of bodybuilding. Drink more water. That's it. Trust me, man, when I'm hungry, I'll fucking eat anything. I'll look for food in the fridge. I open the fridge and I stare in there and I'm like, there's got to be something in here to eat. There's got to be something I can eat that's calorie free. There is no such thing. Everything has calories, even if they're easily burned off or whatever. It doesn't matter. In my mind, I can't do it. I'm a little bit OCD like that. When I'm dieting, I stick to my diet. If I'm super fucking hungry and I need something, it's water. I just guzzle until I'm like bloated. And then I'm like, okay, I'm fine. I'll get over it. I deal with it. That's it. McCarps 48 says, after I'm done training legs, I don't have an appetite until an hour or so. I can't even stomach a post-protein shake. Is this normal or am I doing something wrong? No, if you're training legs hard, That's totally fucking normal. I lose my appetite too. What you are doing wrong is waiting. And I'm not saying you have to get the anabolic window and all that shit. I just think you should eat. Now, if you're drinking like an intra-workout shake that has EAAs and all that stuff in it, that's fine. You're protected for a little while. But I would, in my opinion, at least go home and have a shake. I know you said you can't have a protein shake, but at least have some aminos. You know, if you can drink some essential amino acids post-workout, at least you have something flowing through your body. But you can't be so full that you can't drink a protein shake. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little bit much. Like, you have to be able to just chug a protein shake. It's, if you get good protein, if you get a quality protein, it's literally like water. Like, it should be very smooth going down. So protein shake with a banana post-workout, you got to get it in, you know, within a half an hour. If you're drinking an intra-workout shake with essential aminos in it, just try and drink a shake within a half an hour. Then wait an hour after that, and then eat a meal. Last one. And Saeed 99 says, thoughts on high trend, low test cycle versus vice versa. No, I don't think it's a good idea. High trend is alone not a good idea. Listen, man, that shit's toxic. It's like, it fucks with your mind. It fucks with your body. I think tren is a valuable drug. I think it's better to be used sparingly or during a contest prep. Can be used in the off season, like in the testee form, but sparingly meaning like 6-week cycles of it, 8-week cycles of it max, and not in high doses if you are going to run it longer. I don't. In the off season, my trend cycles at their highest were 600 a week, which is high, but for short periods of time. And they're on average 300 a week. Now, I'm not saying that's it. There's other stuff in my stack, but I don't like high trend doses. They seem to fuck with me quite a bit, and they fuck with my blood work. So I don't advise that. If I had a choice, if you're giving me a choice, high trend and low test versus high test and low trend, I'm taking high test all day long. I don't think there are a ton of side effects from high test, depending on what high is, relatively high. I mean, if you're taking over 1,500 milligrams, you're probably going to get more side effects, more acne, more water retention, blah, 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 higher estrogen levels, more gynecomastia, all these things. But if you're taking a proper dose for your body, for what you're used to, I would go with high test, low trend all day long, because the more toxic a substance, the worse it's going to be for your blood work, the worse it's going to be for your blood pressure, the worse it's going to be for your liver, the worse it's going to be. I mean, it's just the problems go on and on, right? So I would, keep the toxic drugs like the tren, the anadrol, the D-ball, either keep the doses low, or if you're going to keep the doses on the higher end, keep the cycle shorter so that you're not killing your body with this extremely toxic stuff for long periods of time. Just my 2 cents. Okay, guys, that's going to wrap up Q&A number 5. We've been on for about an hour and a half now, so I'm going to cut this into maybe 3 parts just to kind of make it easier for viewing. Thank you guys for watching. And until next week, get your questions in on Instagram, sacrifice without regret, and train your fucking asses off.